Hello, hello. Welcome. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Grab yourself whatever you need, whether it's a glass of water or a cup of tea, a cup of hot coffee. We are going to be here not very long, but long enough to answer every one of your questions. So I want to welcome you to a segment called Plan Before the Pain. Plan Before the Pain. And Plan Before the Pain will deal with all things funerals, memorials, life celebrations, pre planning, pre arranging, and all the things. I am Earline Blumhagen. I am known as the program lady at Jab Designs affectionately, and we'll talk about why that is in a few moments. I am a licensed funeral director with a twist. I am excited that you are here and that I can bring you this very important information. This is not a sales pitch. This is community service. This is from my heart to your home information to help you make informed decisions. It's called Plan Before the Pain. Plan before the pain. We are hoping and praying that we can assist you in thinking more so from a proactive stance versus being reactive when it comes to funerals, memorials, life celebrations, and all the things, and particularly yours, or someone that you know and love that you are responsible for. So let's just jump right in to Plan Before the Pain. This is our first session of the series in the year of our Lord 20 and 26. Today is January the 7th in the year of our Lord, once again, 2026. So let me introduce myself just a little bit deeper before we go a little further. Okay, I have several things that I want to share with you, and I want to take my time with this so that you can understand who you are gathering information from, who's speaking into your life, okay? So, since 1997, that's almost 29 years ago. This year it'll be 29 years. I have very strategically served families. Now, I don't work for a funeral home, nor do I own a funeral home. But since 1997, I have, through our family owned firm, Jab Designs, and if you put a .com on it, you'll go right to our website, Jab Designs, just like it sounds, JABDESIGNS.com. Through our family owned firm, which is community based, we have had the opportunity to be called upon by families who are in the midst of grieving the loss of a loved one and preparing to plan a funeral, memorial, or life celebration. Over that period of time, sometimes the call comes from a firm. And by that, I mean a funeral home who realizes that this family wants and deserves more. They need someone with knowledge and with white glove client service as our benchmark. It is our flagship. Our client services are second to none. And so firms, funeral home owners, they have called us. They often call us in to work with a family. And we go into the home, sit down with that family, and we listen. We listen at what Mr. and Mrs. Community have to say. We listen at what they desire. Sometimes a service is not going to be your traditional service. And even if it's going to be a traditional service, all services, every funeral, every memorial, every life celebration is customized, if you will, in its own way. In its own way. And so I have had the blessing of sitting with and listening at more than 4,500 families in the last 28 years. To God be the glory. And so I've seen a lot, I've heard a lot, I've experienced a lot. I like to describe the position that I hold with Jab Designs likened to a wedding planner. Just like you would hire, if you will, a wedding planner to cross every T and to dot every I as it relates to that special day. There are so many details. So it is with funerals, memorials, and life celebrations. And so not only do I plan, but we help coordinate, I curate, if you will. We provide concierge services, coordination services, layout and design services, full color printing that's high end, all of the things. We provide any and everything that family needs. Sometimes that family might need music provided, maybe a violinist, maybe a pianist, an organist, maybe a celebrant, maybe a minister, maybe a video, maybe a soloist, maybe whatever it is they need. We are prepared to provide it because this is what we do. This is what we do. And in addition to being this funeral, memorial, life celebration planner, concierge specialist, if you will, I'm also a pre-need advisor, a licensed pre-need advisor. And that's what Plan Before the Pain is all about. We went back to school, received our license as a funeral director in the state of Florida, and there are so many more credentials that I could give you. But we want to jump right into the meat of the matter so that we can answer all of your questions. But I think it's important that you know and you understand who's speaking into your life. Again, this is not a sales call. Now, I'm a pre-need advisor, and I will advise you. I will advise you. I will advise you based on what's best for you and your loved one. I'm licensed. I could write the pre-need. I don't have to write the pre-need. This is a service that we want to bring to you because there's so much miscommunication that we just in the profession oftentimes assume that a family knows. And you have no way of knowing. You have no way of knowing. Oftentimes, I have been with families and they said, Mama had everything planned. My mother had everything planned. Where you're going to learn as we go through this series throughout the year, we're going to come to you every week, God willing, with a fresh recording, a fresh subject matter. And you're going to find that pre-planning oftentimes does not mean that mama had everything planned. Okay, we're going to help you to understand what the everything is. We're going to help you understand what's the purpose of insurance, and we're going to help you better understand what type of insurances are out there and what purpose, what role do they play, and what pre-planning really is, and what's the difference between pre-planning and pre-arranging, and then what does it mean when you hear the term funding a pre-plan, and where does that fit in, and how do you even process the insurance, and what happens if that funeral home goes out of business, or what happens if you should move away? What I mean, do that go with you, your pre-plan? How does that all work? Are you secure with this? Are you insured? Is your pre-plan or your pre-arrangement, is it insured? Is it guaranteed? What if I'm in a different state? Are the laws the same? Can every funeral home help me pre-plan? You said your license. Does it take a special license? I mean, what does that? You say you don't own a funeral home. So what? Are there two different licenses that are required? What's the difference between insurance and trust? And why would I want one or the other? Why? What in the world? We're going to answer all of those questions that you might have. We're going to even address the questions that you know or you don't know that you have. Because the more we talk, the more you're going to realize, wait a minute, what was that? So again, let me invite you to grab your favorite cup of whatever, whether it's water. I'll be sipping on water. You guys will get used to seeing me, and the Yeti is always water. So grab your cup of water, or if you like a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, or even a glass of wine, whatever floats your boat, go grab it, okay? And then while you're at it, grab yourself a pen and a pad, okay? Get you a pen and a pad. Now, on this first go round, you may not have a designated pad, but I'm going to invite you to have a designated pad, because over the course of this year, as we start to go deeper in exploring the different points that we're going to bring to the table, you might want to keep all those notes in one place, okay? So let's go ahead and get busy with that. All right. The first thing I want to talk about, and I'm checking my notes here to make sure that I'm not missing anything. I told you my goal, okay? The goal here is to answer all your questions, even the ones that you don't know you have yet, okay? And remember, this is not a sales call. This is not a sales call. This is a service. This is a community service from our firm to your family. That's what this is. We want you to be in the know, because informed families make informed decisions. And that's exactly what we want for you. Okay? All right, let's just jump in. Tonight, our first session, we're going to talk about why. Like, what for? Why pre-plan before the pain? And what pain is this we speak of? The pain of the death, whether it's expected or unexpected. The pain of that. Why pre-plan before the pain? As a side note, I'm your hostess for Plan Before the Pain, but I'm also your hostess for Grief Tidbits, which we record on a weekly basis. And I'm going to put all of this in the notes, but I want to invite you to the YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is the program lady. Okay, you can go right to the program lady, and that's where you're going to find me. We have a Jab Designs YouTube, but we utilize that for something different. For here, for educational purposes, I want you to go directly to the program lady. That's our handle on YouTube, okay? And so you're going to be able to find all of these sessions in their entirety. On social media, the goal is we'll put tidbits, we'll put reels, shorts, that kind of thing on social media. But to see the teaching in its entirety, you want to always come over to our YouTube channel, okay? All right, and bear with us as I'm pulling this together, all right? Because this is new for me. I'm not only your host, I'm also the producer of this baby, all right? Why pre-plan before the pain? Because the pain is real. And when you are in the midst of your grief, just imagine. Some of you don't have to imagine. You've experienced it recently. You got the news that your loved one has passed. And now you have to make decisions. You have to go to the funeral home. You have to make decisions. And there are so many decisions for you to make. I mean, just gathering the information for the death certificate requires over 100 questions to be answered. Most people don't realize that. You're just throwing it out. You're just throwing it out, and you're wondering why you're exhausted on top of being sad and just devastated because you've lost your loved one. You have to immediately kick in business gear and answer the pertinent questions to get the ball rolling. Well, this is why we want to share with you the details behind planning before the pain. You can plan before the pain. Why do you want to do that? I'm going to give you 3 reasons tonight. 3 very practical reasons why you want to plan before the pain. The first reason is because your loved one has crossed over. Your loved one is now gone. The Bible is very clear. Your loved one is now gone. And if your loved one happens to be a Christian, I'm a believer, I love the Lord and I believe all of his word. And if your loved one happens to be a Christian and they have crossed over, that's it. No more crying for them. No more pain for them. No more sickness. No more nothing for them. Every day is howdy, howdy, and full of joy. Not so for the living. Not so for the living. And when we plan a funeral, a memorial, a life celebration, it's not for your deceased loved one. It's in honor of them, but it's not for them. It's for you, the living. Now let that just sink in for a minute. Funerals are not for your deceased loved one. Memorials are not for your deceased loved one. Life celebrations are not for your deceased loved one. They are for you, the living. That's why you want to plan before the pain. Just think about that. Think about planning before the pain and the advantages of that. We'll get into that in a later session, but just on the surface, think about the advantages of being able to be in the moment, to be with your grief, to not have to break the grief because you've got to go and take care of business. You can't even receive the love from friends and families and well-wishers. You can't even receive the love because you're preoccupied. It's like you're cut up in slices. You're totally preoccupied with the planning. Think about that. That's one of the reasons. That's just one of the reasons why you want to plan before the pain. Because funerals, memorials, and life celebrations are not for the deceased, they are for the living. The second reason you want to plan before the pain is because you want to make your wishes known. You want to make your wishes known. Oftentimes, I hear families, I hear individuals speak of, Mama said, and this is what I want, and I want Lulu to sing. And oh my goodness, I was at Betty's service and I love the way they did XYZ. Oh my God, I want that at my service. Well, you have to plan that. You have to plan that. You need to tell someone. You need to tell someone that's what you want. You need to go one step further than just tell someone that that's what you want. We need to help you come up with what we call a comprehensive plan so that your wishes are made known. Maybe you said, I love that rose-colored casket. My goodness, those roses, those tulips, oh my goodness, they were just so beautiful. Those gladiolas were I want glads. That's what I want. I want glads. But maybe 6 months ago, 6 years ago, 16 years ago, you went to Mary's service and she had beautiful red roses and you said then you wanted roses. And so maybe you had one child that heard roses and you heard another child heard glads. And so now that's not what mother said. Or maybe mother said, I want to be buried at XYZ cemetery. And then maybe later on you said, I don't even think I want to be buried. I don't know whether I want to be buried. Just bring my urn home and set it up. Don't scatter me in the mount. What? You want to plan before the pain because you need to make your wishes known. And let me say this to you, Mr. and Mrs. Public. Because you made your wishes known, it doesn't mean that you can't change things. If you want to adjust some things or you want to tweak some things or what, we can do all of that. We can do all of that. But there needs to be a plan in place. Along with that, that was number 2. That was the second reason. You want to plan before the pain because the service is for the living. It's not for those who have passed on. It's not for the deceased. It's not. The service is for the living. And we'll delve into all of that this year. Secondly, you want to plan before the pain because you want to make your wishes known. You want to make them known and not just verbally. We gonna set them in stone. And even if we set your wishes in stone, understand that we can take them out of the stone and tweak it as needed. You're not stuck because you decided then that this was what you wanted. And maybe you moved on. You moved to Michigan. You moved to Texas. And so, no, I don't think I want that. I want this now because I'm living in a different setting, a different situation. So we can always tweak. And we'll talk about that later, what that looks like in another segment. But the third reason you want to plan before the pain, you want to be able to love your family well in death, just like you did in life. Planning is love. It's proof of love. I have never, in my almost 30 years in this industry, now I don't work for a funeral home and I don't own a funeral home, but I have worked alongside of many funeral homes and still do to this day. Have wonderful relationships, have spent time in various funeral homes, right? Listen at where I'm going with this. And I have yet to hear a family whose loved one pre-planned their own service before their loved one had to deal with the pain of it all. The things were pre-planned. I have never heard a family member be angry because their loved one pre-planned. I've never heard that. I've never heard that. Can you imagine you get to the funeral home or you make that phone call and they say, "Oh, your loved one pre-planned." I remember, or you say, because you know that they pre-planned and you have the paperwork because they told you where it was in case of death, and you're able to call and say, "Hey, my father pre-planned his service, and I am calling because he just passed away." Can you imagine the weight that takes off? I don't have to imagine it. I lost both of my parents. My mother passed away when I was yet a teenager. I was 14 years old when my mother very unexpectedly passed away at the age of 39. Nothing was pre-planned. Nothing was pre-arranged. Nothing. Nothing. She very unexpectedly passed away. She was a very young lady, and there was nothing pre-planned. The pain was real, and the planning had to go forth. Let's move forward almost 20 years later. Almost 20 years later, my father very unexpectedly passes away. By the time I get to the funeral home, I knew that he had spoke of, and this was before I was in the industry. This was before I became the program lady. There was no Jab Designs. This is how Jab Designs got started, actually. My father very unexpectedly passed away. It was the week of Thanksgiving. It was the week of Thanksgiving. It was actually the Monday before Thanksgiving that he passed away. We were in the middle of a family reunion. You can't imagine the chaos behind that. We were hosting the family reunion. But when I got to the funeral home the next day, that Tuesday, I was told by the funeral director, "Oh, your father pre-planned." Are you serious? He pre-planned. Wow. I never had to look at a casket, not for picking it out. I don't even remember even looking at it. Whatever he said was fine with me. I didn't have to deal with a flower. I didn't have to deal with whether or not he was going to be embalmed or not be embalmed. He made that decision. Whether he wanted to be viewed or not be viewed, he made that decision. Whether he wanted to wear his glasses or not was not my decision. He made that decision. Down to the fact, my father was a pastor. I was told by the funeral director he wanted to be buried in his robe. I didn't even have to think through, well, what suit are we going to, well, what tie or what? No, he wanted to be buried in his robe. So we plan before the pain. The third reason is because you want to love your family well in death, just like you did in life. Think about what I just said. You want to love your family well in death. That took love. And he never mentioned it to me. I don't recommend that part, but he never mentioned it to me. It was a very pleasant surprise in the midst of some intensive pain, grief. And then part B of number 3 is it gives you a peace of mind. Not only do you demonstrate love to your family in death, in the case of your death, your family finds out, oh, she pre-planned, he pre-planned it, that's done. Mom crossed the T's like she always did. Daddy had he's got the last word like he always had. My husband, well, that's what he wanted, and that's what it's going to be. Doesn't matter what everybody else says. He spoke, and he pre-planned. Well, that shows your family the love that you have for them, even in death. You're still speaking. You're still speaking from heaven. You're still speaking from the grave, if you will. I love you. I love you so much that I covet you. I got you. You got this because I got you. And the other reason, it gives you a peace of mind. It gives you a peace of mind. I could imagine that my father thought that girl got enough on her. She has enough on her. I was a caretaker, not just for him, but for other family members. I had my own family. I had we just had some special needs going on. We had some stuff going on. And I was wide open to the point I had to come home from work and be a full-time caregiver because of the special needs family that I had. I inherited some stuff. I birthed some stuff. I adopted some stuff and all the stuff, okay? And wow, I can imagine my father said, that girl has enough on her. It gave me such joy. I shall never forget it. Remember, I told you we were in the midst of a family reunion. So my father's brother and sister, they all were flying in that weekend, okay? Because we were getting ready to host the family reunion. That weekend, that Saturday and Sunday, that weekend, they were all flying in. They were all flying into Florida. Of course, you come to Florida early. You bring the grandchildren to Florida. You go to Disney before the family reunion, right? They were all flying in. So on Monday, when my father passed away, they were here. They were here. I was able to call them on Sunday night and say, hey, he's in the hospital. I'm so sorry. If you want to see him, you need to come. You need to come. And they did. And we gathered together, and they came back on Monday before I needed to do what I needed to do, and then they pronounced him dead. I was surrounded by a couple hundred family members, you guys. Can you imagine the peace, the pride, the joy it gave me when my daddy's oldest brother, well-meaning, meant it from the bottom of his heart. It was no situation. He pulls me to the side and he says to me, you got my brother? I said, your brother took care of himself. What peace. What pride. So we plan before the pain because the funeral, memorial, or life celebration is for the living. We plan before the pain because we want to make our wishes known, not just verbally. We're going to put it in stone. We plan before the pain because we want to love our family well in death, just like we did in life, and it gives us peace. That's why we plan before the pain. That's all I have for you this evening. I wanted to just give you an introduction, if you will, to the program of planning before the pain. Now, you have the option of sending me via email, via text. You can go to our website, jabdesigns.com. There's a place that you can send me a message there. The email address is office@jabdesigns, and that @ is actually spelled out. Office AT Jab Designs, and then the @ symbol. But I'm going to put all of that in the notes. Then the @ symbol followed by mindspring.com. Or you can text me 407-448-1987. All of that will go in the show notes, okay? And again, be patient with me. We might not look top notch like you are accustomed to seeing through Jab Designs, because not only am I the host of this program, I'm also the producer. And I'm not the technical one over here, but we're going to get it done. We're going to get it done together. All right? In the meantime, I would be remiss if I did not give you scripture, because the bottom line is God himself. And you know what? I like to call him Papa God. So would you allow me to say Papa God? I like to call him Papa God. Papa God, according to 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 3 through 5. Papa God is the source of all comfort. He's actually the source, meaning he's the foundation. All comfort comes from Papa God. Real comfort, just like real peace. Remember, he says, I don't give you the kind of peace the world give you. No, real peace comes from Papa God. Real comfort comes from Papa God. He says, I'm the God of all comfort. And I will comfort you in all your stuff, all your trials, all your tribulations, all your stuff. I will comfort you so that when you have been comforted, when you have actually received the comfort that I extend to you, that I give unto you, when you have been comforted, you can then turn around and comfort someone else. That's what I'm doing, y'all. That's what I'm doing. You've heard a piece of my story. That's what I am doing. You would then be able to turn around and comfort someone else in their time of trouble, trial, and tribulation. And what will you use to comfort them? Some of them old wise tales? No. Some of those sayings that make no sense. Some of those insensitive comments about how God picked his best flower and all of that. No, that's not what you're going to use to comfort people. You're going to use the same comfort by which you have been comforted. Look at it yourself. Don't take my word for it. 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 3 through 5. I am Earline Blumhagen, and I bring you greetings from Jab Designs Orlando, where I have the honor of serving as the program lady. It has just been my honor to host this, our very first session of Plan Before the Pain. And I make myself available to you. You don't have to wonder, I make myself available to you. So in the meantime, receive comfort. Receive comfort. This has been a hard conversation. I know this is a hard subject. Many families don't even want to talk about it. Receive the comfort that I have tried to extend to you based on the comfort that I received from my father pre-planning. Okay? All right. God bless you. And we'll talk again soon. Blessings.